All right, I want to walk you through real quick the short version of the audio record and processing rack that we now have going out on shows. This is going to be a quick video. I've got another video kind of going through everything and kind of how to set it up and use it. But long story short, this rack travels or should travel on any recording gig so that you can have full control of your audio at the recording station. This mixer is not part of that pack. This is the front of house mixer from the A1, whether it be someone from our company running audio or whether this is a feed from someone else of a third party running audio, they're sending audio to us. So we have a rack mount mixer, we have a compressor, and we have a DA because the recording operator needs to be able to have gain control of their level. That way, if the front of house operator is sending them something that's too hot or not hot enough, you have input gains here, multiple ones of them that you can utilize to get your signal to the level it needs to be. Then we've got a compressor so that we can actually take that audio, compress it a little bit, and that way we can actually get the audio louder on the final record. One of the problems that I've seen in the past many years is that audio is getting recorded, but it's fairly low, and to hand that off to a client, they're gonna have to turn the volume all the way up. I'd rather hand off a more polished product, and generally that's what we're doing for shows. We're handing off a product at the end of the show that looks and already sounds great without any need for editing. This allows us to make that audio a little better for the final product, makes it nice and not loud, but just up to levels that won't clip and that the client can just play back and not have to do anything with. So we're compressing our signal a little bit more. Even if the front of house operator is compressing it, we're going to compress the overall signal because if there's a band that's also playing as a part of your show, sometimes engineers will mix a band a little louder than talking heads, and the compressor gives us the ability to, take those peaks down and then get our overall level up. Anyway, so we gain control, we compress, then we send to a proper distribution amplifier. We don't want to use a bunch of Y cables because the internal soldering points on cheap XLR cables and Y cables specifically can just get broken fairly easily. So we have a proper distribution amplifier so that we can send to multiple locations. We can send to this Tascam DRO5 recorder, which does come in the kit. We can send to here. We can then send to an Aja Key Pro or our multiple cameras. We can send audio up to 8 destinations from this one rack. So you can take this into a general session, plunk it down, process your audio, send to all of your record decks at the same time so that all of your record decks are getting the same audio from the same location and the same operator has control of every single output of this that corresponds to an input on the record decks. And actually, let me show you the rear of the rack. I'll show you the patch bay back there, so give me one sec. Back of the rack includes 4 inputs that already are patched into the mixer. These first 2 inputs are if your front of house console, that one, is expecting a hot line level signal. But if the person over at the front of house is sending a lower level signal, try putting them in inputs 3 and 4, and then you'll have better gain control on the front of the mixer. And then we have 8 outputs that correspond to the 8 outputs on that Whirlwind DA. You've got a couple of service outlets on the back, and you've got a master power that powers the entire rack, and that's about it. So, front of house operator should send you 2 outputs from their console, a main and a backup. You use either inputs 1 and 2 or inputs 3 and 4, depending on the level they're sending you, to gain up to 0 dBu, send over to the compressor, give it about 3 to 6, maybe up to 10 dB of compression if your signal gets too loud coming from front of house. We've compressed it, we distribute it, and hopefully your recordings are going to sound better than everyone else's. At least that's the goal. So last but not least, we do include a pair of headphones in here, Shure SRH 440s. Nice studio headphones so you can actually hear what's going on with your audio. The headphones come in a drawer with a headphone bag. The Tascam comes with all necessary power cables to also power it because we don't want it to be on battery the entire time. There is also another bag that has a few XLR cables so you can patch other devices into or out of the record rack. Oh, and there are also a couple of XLR pads, 20 dB pads that travel with this kit in case your signal is too loud, specifically this recorder. Sometimes you'll need to put these pads out of the outputs of the back of this to pad the input before it gets to specific recorders that might need a lower level, just in case you have to be at the extreme ends of any of your output knobs. And absolutely last but not least, make sure to plug this rack into a battery. If there's not a battery built into the rack, make sure you've got one so that if someone trips over your power cable at the wall or at the power distribution, the PD, that this rack isn't going to turn off. Also, make sure all of your record decks, all of your Raja Key Pros, your ATEM Mini Pros, anything that you're recording with, make sure it's on a battery backup. That goes for this rack as well. Always make sure you plug the rack into the battery side of a battery backup. So, couple of feeds from front of house, main backup. You're going to make sure you have gain control, 0 dBu, compress it, distribute it. There you go. Happy recording. Later.